Okay, future leaders of tomorrow. Let's talk chapter number 6 in the civil rights movement. Now, let me just scroll up here. Chapter 5, Greensboro 4, right? The four young men who walked into a Woolworths lunch counter and sat down, knew they wouldn't get served, but nonetheless, they sat there in silent protest for the rest of the day and then did it again and again and again until it inspired sit-ins all across the American South, and eventually we see the desegregation of lunch counters. Now, let's talk chapter 6. Chapter 6, it's 1963 now in the civil rights era. And number 24 says, what was Project C and who was the head of it? Okay, a little bit of backstory here. So by 1963, the news that the sit-in protests generated because of the violence perpetrated against the sit-in protesters had sort of subsided, right? The civil rights movement had sort of faded from the public consciousness of the United States of America. And Dr. King was like, okay, what are we going to do? Now, Birmingham, Alabama was known to be the most racially segregated city in the American South. And there was a man who was the public safety commissioner of that city named Eugene Connor, affectionately called Bull. And anyways, in order to sort of get the civil rights movement back into the limelight, sort of reinvigorate it, give it some new energy, Dr. King and other leaders of the civil rights movement with the Southern Christian Leadership Congress came up with something called Project C. And the C stood for confrontation. So Project C was designed to basically bait Bull Connor into some ridiculous acts. And much like the fool he was, Mr. Connor does exactly that. So who's the head of Project C? The answer is Dr. King. So that's number 24. Project C, Project Confrontation, designed to pump some new energy into the civil rights movement, headed by Dr. King. Okay, number 25. How did Bull Connor deal with the civil disobedience of young protesters in Montgomery, Alabama? It should be Birmingham, actually. The response of Bull Connor was entirely predictable. Remember, this was a man who was a segregationist, and he believed in blacks knowing their place. And when students walked out on May 2nd, he wasn't having any of it. He filled up the jails in Birmingham first, and then he filled up the fairgrounds, right? Like the large exposition grounds. And still, the young people of Birmingham just kept coming. And in order to dissuade the youth, the African American youth in Birmingham from protesting, what he did is he ordered police officers to use canines to attack the protesters. And above in this module, you will see images of that. So you had police officers attacking young people, and then you also had the Birmingham Fire Department using high-pressured water. Now, I don't know if you've ever had high-pressured water shoot you, but the amount of flow that comes out of a fire hose is remarkable. It generally takes a few rather large, well-trained individuals to be able to handle those hoses. And he was using these against children. And number 26 asks, how did the events of Birmingham raise the consciousness of the American public to the plight of the civil rights movement? The people watching what happened in Birmingham on the news were once again shocked and dismayed. Much like how the American public was shocked and dismayed by what they saw when it came to the sit-in protests and how those protesters were attacked, the events in Birmingham took that shock and outrage to a new level, right? Nightly, the news showed horrific images of young children being attacked by police and firefighters, right? And it raised the ire of America. Many Americans, excuse me, many Americans actually started to question the, like, is this America? Is this what America stands for? And it starts to sort of change the sort of public support for the civil rights movement. And we will see the Freedom Riders coming up here in chapter 7, question 27, here in the next chapter. So hopefully everything is good with you guys. Peace, love you. Hopefully this is not too depressing. But in the end, right, in the end, justice is served, right? Like, the good things happen in this. So don't feel totally disheartened by what you see here. All right. I love you guys. Check you later.